Recently, I decided to buy this spotlight projector mount to modify my lights, and honestly, it's one of the coolest pieces of gear I've got. So this specific one I got is the Amaran Spotlight SE. It's about 500 bucks Aussie dollars or 330 USD. The ability to just use this to shape your light and easily create cool patterns in your shot is really valuable to me. Just before I get into setting up some scenes with this fixture, let's quickly go over what's in the box and how to use it. It comes in this Amaran foam box, which I quite like. It's portable, light, and does the job keeping all the accessories organized inside. Open it up and you got the spotlight itself. I believe it comes in two sizes for the projector lens. I have a 36-degree one, which is a wider spread, and there's also a 19-degree kit. Then at the bottom of the box, you have the little gobo set that comes with it. You get a bunch of different cutout shapes and patterns, which you can then use to put in the projector to, well, project those patterns. So how do you adjust the light? Well, you got these 4 doors, or I don't even know what you call them, but you slide them in and you can cut and angle the light how you want. Just with this, you can already create cool rectangular shapes, but I'll get into that stuff a bit more later. You can also focus the beam of light. So just like a lens, because this is also basically a lens, you can make the light super sharp or softer as you defocus it. And that's about it, that's how you use it. But some quick things I feel I should mention. The build quality of this is great, it's basically all metal, but just using the spotlight, it can feel a little bit finicky sometimes. Mainly with adjusting and cutting the light with those 4 doors I was talking about, and also just how it feels focusing that lens. When adjusting, sometimes those doors can get a bit stuck, or it's just really hard to move for those fine adjustments. And it's kind of the same thing for focusing the lens. Really quickly, here's all the gobo patterns and how they look, just so you can get an idea of what you're getting with it. So let's finally get into some test shots with this thing. Now this is my first real good play with the spotlight, so I'm still learning my best ways to use it and how I could use it practically in my scenes. But I mainly had it set up on my 60XS, which is a bit of a janky setup in itself because of the whole ergonomics and balance of the rig, I guess. But hey, it's my only bicolor light, so I like it. So for this first shot, I just wanted to emulate some sun coming through the windows and the doors, sort of like afternoon light or something like that. Now I don't mind the first sort of look I got with this. It's a bit random, there's lots of little lines everywhere, it's not the neatest lighting setup, but you can get sort of the feeling of what I'm going with here. So then I decided to chuck a little gobo in there, sort of like a plant or tree pattern going across the wall. I think this would be one of my favorite gobos to use just because it's a nice organic sort of leaf pattern sort of thing that you can sort of blast across the wall. So it's basically sun shining through trees or something like that. So I think it's really natural looking, and yeah, I think it'll definitely be one of my favorites. In this next setup, I wanted to try and sort of make up a little product shoot. Doesn't really make sense what I'm shooting. I don't really have a product. I just have like a nice interior design book there or something. But just for this, I just wanted to display something. It's pretty plain looking setup, but hey, as long as we get the idea of what this spotlight does, then that's all that matters. So firstly, I chucked my 200D on a softbox just to get some soft sort of ambient light on it. And then I put the spotlight up a bit higher and kept that gobo in there with a sort of tree pattern just to put over the cross of the table. Now this one is a really subtle effect, but I really like it. It's just sort of a couple little patches of light over the cross of the table, and it just makes the whole shot pop a bit more with a little bit more spice and just a little bit more visually interesting. And then when I turn the 200D off, you can really tell what the spotlight is doing, and even this shot in itself is quite cool, very dramatic, but it looks awesome. And then I tried a different gobo over the top of this, so I did sort of the blinds window effect. This one I didn't like as much compared to the sort of tree patterns before, but hey, it's another pattern that you could use, and it's probably a more common one that would be used as well, sort of emulating sunlight coming through some window shades or blinds, and it gives a pretty cool pattern, especially if you do it a bit more subtly. And then finally, I took the gobo out and just sort of tried to shape some sharp window light and put it on 2700 Kelvin, so it was really warm. And then I did the same thing as before by turning the key light off. This creates a super dramatic effect, and I really like it. And just for the final little setup here, I went into my room and I wanted to try and replicate some harsh sunset lighting coming through my window, even though it's literally pissing rain outside. This was going to be a good little challenge to see if I could make something work. So I shaped up a hard sort of rectangular line and then put it as far back as I could. So I actually had to go onto my little balcony bit to get a wider spread of light that would cover a lot more of the wall. So I turned on my little lamp beside me as well, just to boost some ambient warm light. And then I sat in front, and yeah, it's a pretty stylistic shot. The cool thing about this is it's literally one light. So it just shows how much you can do with one light. And I already made a whole video on the topic of this, but I just think it's a really cool concept. And then I remembered, because my light is bicolor, I can actually change the light to a bit of a cooler color to try and replicate moonlight. So my final thoughts for this, I think this is just a really cool addition to my kit, and it just allows me to create easy, cool shapes and patterns and make my shots just that little bit more visually interesting and spicy. So, yeah.